Hey fam, happy Monday. I hope you guys had an excellent Mother's Day weekend. It's time to get into a little Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 5 review here. So let's get into it. This episode begins with Lord Varys. He meets Jon at the beach. Jon has pulled up basically in the ship and he expresses to him basically that he wants the right ruler to rule the throne, basically. And Jon almost immediately tells him he doesn't want it. And Varys says, I know that you're the rightful heir, basically. And Jon checks him, basically stating that she will always be my queen. You see a couple things here. I appreciate Varys, y'all. I've said this before. He's about the people. He's 100% about the people. Regardless of who sits at that throne, he's concerned about the people. And from my perspective, he has the absolute best view on this, especially everything that he's been through. All right, so from there, they show Tyrion. Tyrion has watched this conversation transpire. He's like up off on a cliff watching them have this conversation. So he immediately goes and tells Daenerys, basically. And when he shows up to tell her, she's immediately guessing everything. From Jon telling Sansa, to Sansa telling Tyrion, and then him telling Varys. She is so dead on, talking about the betrayal. And Tyrion is telling her that he only did it for her best interest. And of course he ends up having to apologize to her because he told someone else first. Hello. Tyrion. Okay, so you notice in this scene, Daenerys looks messed up. She has circles under her eyes. Her hair is all messed up. They said she wasn't eating. I doubt she's bathing. She looks like she's going literally mad. She's lost so much and it's like she doesn't know how to function. All right. So from there, they show Varys in an office type. He's writing, letters, whatever. And they show at that point guards showing up there to pick him up. And he knows what's up. He's taking his jewelry off. He burnt up the last letter he wrote. He knows what time it is. So they take him and they put him basically in front of Jon, Daenerys, Tyrion, Grey Worm. They're all there. And at this point, Tyrion walks over to him and he basically admits it was me. And I think of so many things in this moment, y'all. If you don't remember, I do. Seasons ago when Varys saved Tyrion, when Tyrion's family was going to kill him the next day after, he showed up and he took Tyrion and put him on a boat in a box and took him to where Daenerys is at. He saved his life, okay? That's all I can think of in this moment. Anyway, Varys says, I hope this is worth it. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I am wrong. And he says, goodbye, my old friend. And at that point, Daenerys introduces herself with all her names. And at this point, I'm like, this bitch is past cocky, okay? Anyway, while she's stating this, you see the dragon slowly behind her creep up because it's black, like it's dark outside. And the only lighting there is the fire things that they have around them. And all of a sudden, out of the blue behind her, the dragon shows up. It's good, y'all. That was a powerful moment. You're like, oh, shit. She's really about to. She didn't have to do him like that. They could have beheaded. I don't know. Anyway, that dragon, she says, Dracarys, whatever. And the dragon burns up Varys. And he's gone. And Jon is looking at her while this is going on afterwards. He's really starting to peep who she is. It's a shame it took this damn long. Okay, so anyway, they show Daenerys sitting in her little room and Grey Worm is there with her. And she basically hands him the last possession of Missandei. And it's some little cuff-looking belt thing. It's the very last thing she had on her. And she hands it to him. And he takes it and throws it into the fire. At this point, I know that Grey Worm, he's turned off all emotions. He has. When he met Missandei, he really didn't have any. And it's literally like that woman taught him how to love. And now that she's gone, he's not here for anything anymore. So then we see Jon show up to speak to Dany. And she says, you see what happens when you tell your sister who you are? When you tell your sister who you are. That's what she said. Do you not see the corruption here? Child. Okay, he says, I don't want it. This is his whole... Man, I really wish someone could stick a stick up John's ass and make him grow a backbone. And sometimes you need to be mean. Sometimes you need to be a little cruel to get something done. And all I hear him say is, I don't want it. I don't want it. You will always be my queen. And she's like, is that all I'll be? Is your queen? And she steps forward and tries to kiss him in the mouth. And immediately John's just, he's not doing anything. And then there's a pull away moment. And she's telling him that I don't have love out here like you do. I don't. The one thing I do have is fear. Okay. So at that moment, when he pulled away from her, she's like, okay, fear it is then, basically. She lets him know, I am willing to rule and do everything with these people with a fear I've invested in them. I'm like, that's where we're at. Okay, so from there, we see Tyrion plead with her at this point because she's meeting with him and Grey Worm, pleading with her not to burn up King's Landing. There's plenty of innocent people and children there, and there's no need to go in and kill everybody there. She's very hesitant, but agrees, basically. Okay, if once we have the walls and all the weapons against the dragon taken care of, you can get that. Tyrion, this is his plan. He said, when the bells ring, that's when you know that they've surrendered, basically, and you're supposed to stop. And she very, like, nonchalantly agrees. Like, I didn't even take that seriously the moment she did it. But anyway, okay, as Tyrion walks away from her, she tells him that they caught Jaime trying to creep back into the city, basically, and are holding him. And she basically tells Tyrion at this point, the next time you fail me will be the last time. All right? So from there, we see Tyrion he gets past the guards and he gets in to see Jaime. And while he's in there, he's basically telling Jaime, I need you to go inside the city and ring the bell. Like, as soon as possible, get in there. I need you to go. And he's unchaining him, basically. And Jaime's like, she will kill you, when she finds out about this. And he's like, maybe, maybe not, whatever. And he says that my life is a pretty even trade for all those innocent people, basically. And they have a moment, Tyrion and Jaime, at this point. It's literally like when Tyrion was locked up and Jaime used to go visit him. But he tells him basically that you're the only one. Tyrion says this to Jaime. You are the only one, the one person in my life who did not treat me like a monster. It's a loving moment between brothers. And honestly, this is the last time they'll ever see each other. There's no question about it. And it was a good moment. Even though I can't stand Jaime's ass right now for what he did to Brienne. But I digress. So Jaime's leaving, and he gives his word to Tyrion that I will ring the bell, okay? So from there, we see the next day, the shit's popping off. Daenerys is flying the dragon, and she's going over the ships there. And let me see, now that she knows how their weapons work, she easily outmaneuvers them. She knows how quick she needs to go, how they need to do, don't fly a straight line, whatever. You got to bob and move, basically, bob and weave to keep them arrows from hitting you. And she does it, and she is 100% successful at burning up every one of them last ships, okay, with ease. It was too easy, basically. And you also see Euron, the one who slept with Cersei, that fuck boy, I'm always going to call him that. I don't know what else to call him. He has to jump off the ship to save his life, because ultimately he's dying if he doesn't. All right, so she then sets her sights on the gates, basically, because all the gates have those big arrow things that are meant to shoot at the dragon and kill him. So she's going after them next. And let me see. She blasts basically all those gates and all the soldiers at the gates. There's different moments where you see different things going on. Let me see. Then we see Arya and the Hound, and they're making their way into the city. Remember, her goal here is to kill Cersei. All right, so you do see at all these gates, they had already closed the door while all the people, there were some people who were locked out and some people who were in. But they're all innocent townspeople who don't have a damn thing to do with Cersei. All right, let me see. Okay, once the battle actually really begins with the men in the city, the soldiers basically one on one, we see Grey Worm. He is going all in. Okay, like I said, I really feel like he's lost everything, and now all he wants to do is kill. That's what it looks like. There is a moment. There's one moment when Jon and Grey Worm they meet up with the King's Landing soldiers, and everyone's just standing there, sort of looking at each other. It's like, what do we do now? It's that moment, and what you see then is the soldiers, the King's Landing soldiers, retrieve. They drop their swords on the ground, and at the same moment, this is when Daenerys is taking care of all the gates, and she's taking care of all those arrow things that can kill the dragon. And she stops with the dragon on one of the buildings there in the city, and they're waiting. It's like everybody's literally waiting for this bell to ring, and the dragon looks fierce. They made this show so well, but you know if you watch it, shoot. Let me see. Jaime ends up making it over to the bell, and he brings it, and at that point it's almost like Tyrion is standing there like waiting, literally, like he doesn't know what's going on yet. He doesn't know what Daenerys is going to do. So at that point you see the dragon starts flying over the city, and he starts lighting it up. I mean, all the people that are out in the streets, the buildings, he is torching the city, period, all of it. It's horrible, y'all. Jon sees this, and at that point, you also see Grey Worm throw his sword thing at the King's Landing soldier, and they all instantly begin battle. And Jon's trying to stop them, like, "Hello, they rang the bell. You know what the plan is here." But they keep going. They're going after them all. So then we see the Hound and Arya. They finally make it to the Queen's Castle, basically, and the castle is falling apart at this point. Daenerys has made a couple laps around that sucker, and it's slowly starting to fall. And at this point, we see the Hound. He stops Arya, and he has a bit of a struggle, but he convinces Arya that she needs to leave. This building's going down, and no matter what, Cersei's dead. She's gone, one way or another. And it's like she stops for a moment and takes this all in. And this is another one of those special moments, y'all, when you realize that they're going different paths, and it is the last time they're going to see each other. And even though they've had the problems in the past, they kind of care about each other. They're road dogs. What can you say? All right, so she does leave. And let me see. From there, Cersei watches. Oh, she'd been watching all this time her kingdom go up in flames. Okay, then we see Euron and Jaime, and Jaime's walking by, and Euron's telling him, "Are you gonna kill another king?" And he's like, "You're not a king." And he's like, "Yes, I am, and I fucked the queen too." And at this point, Jaime and him end up fighting. And even though I can't stand Jaime's ass, like, I really hate Euron's ass more. So I really wanted Jaime to kill him. I did. As this fight goes on, as you know, Jaime has one hand, so he's not the fighter he used to be. And he ultimately does end up getting fatally wounded. However, he's still able to move. And with his last movements, almost, he shoves that sword straight through Euron's chest, and he gets him. And I'm like, yes, can't stand that bastard. Okay, so then we see Cersei. Cersei's help basically convinces her to leave to find safety for herself. And as she and the Mountain are leaving the castle that's falling apart, the Hound shows up. And at this point, he wants to fight his brother. That's what he showed up for. His goal is to kill the Mountain, his brother, who burnt him up like a dog. It's crazy because at this point, Cersei has to like walk in between them. Like, excuse me, she's gone out of there. I don't know if he was fast enough. I feel like maybe he could have chopped her head off or something, but it didn't happen. Anyway, she leaves. Ooh, sorry, y'all. She leaves, and at that point, those two go at it, and they're fighting, and it's crazy. The Mountain is massive, and he looks dead. He's got skin on his head and his face that's like Michael Myers dead, or Jason. Jason dead. Jason. Anyway, they're going at it. The fighting is so unfair, it seems like, because the mountain is truly stronger and bigger. And I mean, he cuts through cement, the whole nine. The hound has cut him so many times, you're shocked he's still alive. And then he starts stabbing the mountain in the chest, even, and the mountain lifts him up. And he does like he did, oh boy, in that one season where he, you know, when he pushed his eyes out, he tried to do that to the hound, and he was able to do it to one eye, but he couldn't get that second one. And at that point, the hound stabbed him through the head, and he's still not going down, y'all. But he did drop the hound, and at that point, the hound was able to charge at him and take him over the side of the castle, which led them down to a big field of fire, basically. So if the fall didn't kill him, the fire did. It's crazy. He ends up back in fire like that. Anyway, Jaime shows up basically to save Cersei, but that actually doesn't end up lasting long. They end up getting stuck basically down underneath, I don't know, one of the buildings that is fallen, all this rubble around them, and they're stuck. They're trying to get out of there, but it's not happening. And Cersei sort of starts to freak out, have a panic moment. Please don't let me die. And I'm like, oh, little boo-boo. Do you want sympathy now? After all the shit you've done during you want sympathy, girl? Ain't that a bitch? Okay, so anyway, she's crying to her brother, asking, you know, for him to save her. And he's telling her, look at me in the eye. And anyway, the two twins who came out the womb together were fucking each other all their lives. They end up dying together. Okay, whoop-de-doo. Okay, so from there we see Arya. She is running through the city trying to get out, basically. And at one point, she's saved because she falls down and this lady pulls her up and she's, you know, bringing her along. And later on, you see that lady and her little girl, her daughter, they're torched by the dragon. And the dragon barely misses Arya in this process, basically. And at that point, shortly thereafter, Arya passed out from rubble, stuff that had fallen on her. But then we see her wake up. And when she does wake up, she's looking around. And the only thing that's alive around her is this white horse that we had saw earlier in the show. But it's like crazy, like almost like, is she dead? Is that real? But she's alive, y'all. So she ends up getting on that horse and riding off. And that's basically the end of the show. I will say that during the whole scenes where Daenerys was torching the city, they were very good about slowing down the camera and showing Jon watching all these people dying and freaking the fuck out over it. They were also very good at slowing it down and showing Arya witnessing all this. And you know, the Stark people are not about that. No. Daenerys has lost her ever-loving mind, y'all. She's the Mad Queen. That's what she's turned into, and she needs to be stopped. I love my girl. I've always had her back. I've always been on her side, but there's simply no excuse. None. You killed a city of innocent people, period, because you are so obsessed with being queenie. Anyway, we have one more episode to go, y'all. I hope it's everything we're hoping for. If you like my video, hit the like button and become a subscriber. Thanks for watching.